Growth. That can be the word to describe year one under Brett Kaminsky here at Madonna. A lot of excitement circling for year two, but there's only one thing left to do: get on the field. I'm Sean Massa. This is the Madonna 2025 football season preview. We'll start things off with the man at the helm and work our way down with Brett Kaminsky. Sean Massa starting things off with head coach Brett Kaminsky. Coach, it feels like it was yesterday. We were in these chairs talking before week 0 of year one. It was a shortened offseason for you guys and kind of what I like to say, a marathon of a season that was ultimately a sprint at the same time. What's the biggest takeaway you had from year one at the helm here at Madonna?
Yeah, I think, I don't know if there's enough time in this interview to discuss everything that I took away from it, but overall, I just think just continuing for us to progress in our process. Last year was just a lot of setting up the foundation of how we want things done, how we want things to go from day to day, how our staff operates, all those kinds of things. So as we move into year two, I'm really excited to continue that process moving forward.
And then you talked about trying to build that culture and build an identity. What's the one thing, if you had to pinpoint an exact part of this team, if you can pinpoint one exactly, that's different from year 2 to year 1?
I think overall it's just buy-in. I think all the players now who are returning have been around us for a year, know how we operate. I think, we brought in a lot of guys. We brought in, quite a number of transfers, and whenever you bring in transfers, that can always be a really good thing or a really bad thing. And it really all depends on the personalities of the transfers that you bring in. And I'm really excited because a lot of the guys, some of the guys you're going to talk to today have come in with the right mindset, team-oriented guys that align with the principles that we want in our team. And then we have returners coming back that we're super, super excited about that have that continuity with us. So overall, I just say buy-in in the way that we do things and understanding what we're trying to get done on a day in and day out basis.
And you said it right there. You kind of led me into it. The team identity. What is it that you have really tried to instill throughout, obviously, year 1 being kind of short, get into games, get moving, but also year 2, what's the identity you're trying to instill?
I think for us, just we don't want to be a team that operates in fear. We want to be a team that when we go into games, we're trying to win the game. We're not trying to not lose the game. And I think for us, we're going to be a team that's going to be ultra aggressive. We're going to be a team that takes chances, but we're going to be a team that plays with no fear. And
then we talked about last year, the quarterback position, and went through a lot of inconsistencies due to injuries, et cetera. What have you seen from that group this year with the abundance of talent you've, A, brought in, and B, retained?
I think for the most part for us, it's just about continuing to gain consistency from that position. I think Keel Watson and John Rintrop, guys like that coming back have been really good for us as far as just them having another year in the system, understanding what we're trying to do, play in and play out, understanding where freedom is, where they can check, those kinds of things. And then also the guys that we've brought in, like Nate Patterson, Christian Noriega, Jalen Payne, a lot of those guys, just trying to get them to understand what we're trying to do, but all of them super, super talented and picking it up pretty well. So overall, I think just the more we can kind of have a ebb and flow of consistency from that position will put us in a really good spot.
And then we know the offense that you've ran along the way throughout your coaching career, the high-powered offense and the high-powered passing game. But last year, it was the running game that really stole the show. Kind of walk me through how that was as a coach and kind of what excitement that brings to you for year 2 and beyond.
Yeah, absolutely. As I've always said, this system is very adjustable to our talent and very adjustable to what our strengths are at the time. Last year, we really kind of found some traction in the run game, so we leaned on that quite a bit. I'm also a believer that the pass game and run game don't have to be mutually exclusive. So this year we'll lean on that run game, but also have a desire to have a more explosive passing attack as well. And I think we have a system that allows us to be able to do both of those. So super excited about the guys we've been able to retain, in the running back room and the offensive line room, and then think we have a bunch of great receivers that are going to be able to do some really good things. So.
And then third downs, penalties, and turnovers. Those 3 things didn't really go to your guys' way last year. A lot of inconsistencies trying to manage them. How have you guys as a staff attacked that this offseason, knowing that, hey, we can't shoot ourselves in the foot. We got to convert. Last year, 28% on third downs.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of the same stuff. It's a lot of just gaining that consistency of what we're trying to do, play in and play out. And I think our players that have come back are gaining that understanding in a really good way. I think our guys that have come in have done a great job of understanding that as well. So I think the more that we understand what we can do play in and play out, the better that will be as an entire offense, which will, make it to where it's not 3rd and 14, maybe it's 3rd and 3. Make it to where you have less turnovers because we're more decisive in our decision making, and penalties, just not having as much, pre-snap penalties and those kind of things, I think is going to be big as far as the entire operation of not just our offense but our entire team.
Thank you so much, Coach. As head coach Brett Kaminsky, we'll kick it aside, go to the defense real quick with Coach Strass. Sean Massa, first-year defensive coordinator. Coach Strass, Coach, at Concordia, when you were at the helm, around 18 points per game allowed from your defense. That's pretty good. Madonna team that gave up more than double that last year. What principles do you bring to the table to try to change that and fill that gap?
Yeah, no, I think every defense year to year, no matter what school you're at, is a little bit different. To me, I think the most important element that we've done with these guys is just really get them to buy into the schemes that we're using and how they can kind of best use their talents within that. So just getting guys in the best position possible and just creating a culture of belief that the players believe in what we're doing and they feel the coaches believe in them, because that's when guys perform at their best. So it's been a great transition, and excited to see guys keep growing.
And you've had a few months with these guys throughout camp, throughout the summer, and a little bit at the tail end of last academic year. What's your first impressions from these guys and your defensive unit, and what kind of excites you going into year one?
Yeah, no, I'm really excited. We're truly blessed with the guys that we have in the room, the guys that are coming back, the guys that we brought in. I think the whole staff in general, especially the defensive staff, really targeted in on guys that were kind of our kind of guys that bought in and believed in the things we were talking about with them on the phone, and they've been exactly who we've expected them to be when they've gotten on campus. So it's been awesome to see just a mix of guys buy in together and believe in the same thing. And so I'm really excited because our players are buying in and doing well, and our defensive coaches have done an awesome job. Like Coach Prince does so much for our defense in general, and he's been crushing it and killing it every day. So I'm blessed to have him around, and so are the guys. So it's definitely exciting.
When you look at this defense throughout camp and what you've seen going into week one, is there any single position group at all that you can pinpoint that really gets you excited and you can kind of see the strides they've made and the strides they can continue to make?
Yeah, I think each 3 levels kind of the defense have been making strides throughout it. I think what's been awesome to see is you got a mixed match of guys playing together for the first time, and the communication has been awesome. So guys have been on the same page, talking to each other, celebrating with each other, where I think there's guys that are super talented and playing well, doing their job at all 3 levels. So it's not one position group in general. It's more, we talk about it where it's not my defense, it's not anybody's defense, it's our defense. It's a Madonna defense, and those guys have bought into it, and it's just 11 guys playing together.
And then one last thing. When people watch this team this year, they watch the defensive side of the ball. What's one thing you hope that everyone can take away that just feels different than previous years?
Yeah, I think special defensive units, when you cut on the tape and you're watching them, anytime there's a stop or a big play made, it's like, are those guys celebrating together? Is a sideline juiced for the guy that's on the field that's making a play? And just, Coach Kaminsky talks about faith versus fear, with our football team, and just seeing that love and that belief of plays being made and guys coming together, where that just creates such a tight unit, and it's so hard to break a unit that just genuinely loves and care about one another. So that's what I've seen when I've turned on the film with us when guys have made plays, is just a team that's really together and believes and loves one another. So
thank you so much, Coach. That's Coach Strass talking about the defense. We've talked to the head coach, defensive coordinator. Now we'll kick it over and talk to Philip Gould, the offensive coordinator. We go back to the offense with the offensive coordinator, Philip Gould. Coach, with Coach Kaminsky being such an offensive mind at every stop he's been along the way, you're obviously the offensive coordinator here. What does your guys' collaboration look like, not only in terms of the offseason, but also just a week-to-week basis?
We've collaborated a lot during our careers, with me stepping into a larger role as the offensive coordinator this offseason. It's kind of just a heightened sense of that. A lot of our collaboration happens more earlier in the week, that Sunday to Tuesday time. And then as we ramp up for Saturdays, especially heading into the season here, we collaborate a lot more like on the field as opposed to game planning meetings.
Yeah, and then you guys have had a lot of time throughout camp really to get this offense moving. What's one position group that over the offseason through camp heading into week one that kind of gets in your mind of this group could be special this year?
I think across the board, I'm pretty excited about what we're bringing to the table on offense. I think our wide receiver room, both from returners that have developed a ton over this offseason, coupled with incoming guys that have come in this recruiting class, have shown a lot of promise this camp. So I'm excited to get those playmakers in space and complement our running game really well.
And then when Crusader fans and everyone watches this offense work this year, you guys more than tripled the points per game that previous regimes have seen here at Madonna. What's one word you hope that in year 2 under your guys' realm that fans can notice something changed?
I think they're going to see an offense that wins 4th and 2 together. Like when we go on the field on 3rd or 4th and short, when we put those 11 dudes on the field, that they play together and that they can convert and keep the ball moving.
Thank you so much, Coach. We'll keep it on the offensive side, but we'll go over to the 11 on the field. We'll start with tight end Nick Hayward. We start off the personnel on the field with tight end Nick Hayward. Nick, you led the team amongst receiving yards for tight ends last year, and over the last few games, you totaled over 100 yards. Kind of how did you build on that momentum throughout the year?
So a big thing for me, I took the whole 2023 through 24 season off. So a big thing for me was just kind of learning how to play football again and learn how to play at like competitive level. So as the season went on, I was just like, I just have to find a way to get better every week because I had really high expectations for myself, and I was getting let down the first couple of weeks. And it wasn't until about the 5th or 6th week where I really felt like, okay, I'm starting to feel comfortable playing football again. And then, I was just kind of trusting the process because we ran a lot of 10, a lot of 11, a lot of 12 personnel, but a lot of tight ends we weren't on a mini pass plays. We were just, a lot of run protection, stuff like that. So I was just, when the ball comes to me, I got to somehow make a play, because I got to just make the most out of every opportunity I can get. So I kind of just really trusted that throughout the year that, if I keep putting in the work, then the ball's somehow going to find a way to me. And I feel like, as the season went on, it just, I made the most out of every opportunity I had and, got a couple of yards as the season went on.
And then you talked about taking the year off. That makes this next question a little bit even harder and digs a little bit deeper. Brand new scheme under Coach Kaminsky. What was it like not only learning that scheme, but now also the fact of you didn't play football for a year, so learning a new scheme, but also learning how to play?
Yeah, so that was it was pretty difficult. I didn't really, think about that when I was coming back to football, how difficult it would be to, relearn a new playbook from the start and everything. But I feel like, the offense is set up in a way where it's very easy to understand once you get the whole concept down of everything. So I feel like the first couple of weeks were really difficult, especially with, some of the pass plays and everything. That's always been the hardest thing with me. The run plays weren't too bad, but as, after that first couple of weeks, I felt really confident going into the season, knowing the plays and stuff like that.
And then knowing the offense that Coach Kaminsky wants to run, you guys were a kind of a balanced team last year, a lot of running plays that worked out to your way, but Coach Kaminsky every step of the way, air the ball out, air the ball out, air the ball out. What kind of confidence did that put in you, not only throughout the season, knowing that, hey, I'll get the ball eventually, but also the offseason, knowing this is what we want to do, I can be a big part?
Yeah, so a big thing for me this summer was just, get faster, losing some weight, and just really, really working on the things I'd never really worked on before, like route running, catching a lot more footballs, because usually in the off season I'm just trying to get as strong as I can. But I kind of really shifted that because I realized, to fit this offense better, I need to become more athletic in a sense and lose some weight. So I lost about 10 pounds over the off season. I feel like I'm running better than I have in a long time, and I feel like I'm really confident going into the offense we have, more of that air raid style. I feel like I'm a lot more fit for, getting out in the slot, running routes and stuff like that. But I also feel really confident getting into the run game, still being that hard-nosed offense that just pounds the ball down the middle of the field. So I feel pretty good about both senses of that.
Thank you so much. We'll kick it off to the wide receiver room, with J.J. Lamphere. Sean Massa joined by wide receiver J.J. Lamphere. J.J., you came from Independence Community College in Kansas. What has that transition been like for you from Independence now here to Livonia, Michigan?
I spent 18 months in Kansas, so from my freshman year to half of my sophomore year, I graduated in December 2024. So my transition was fairly easy. Coming out of Indy, I didn't have too many looks because my first year I wasn't playing. And Coach Adams, who's not here no more, Coach Kaminsky and them gave me a shot. And when I took it, I was kind of nervous, I'm not going to lie, because I didn't know if I wanted to come on and play football. But I talked to my mom and my grandma, my biggest support system, and they felt like it was one of my better opportunities to progress my career. So I say my transition was fairly easy.
And talk about that your time at Independence, there's a lot of good receivers in that receiving room, and yourself included. There's talent up and down the board. What was it like practicing and competing with those guys?
Coming into Indy, I'm not gonna lie, I was pretty big headed, and once I got there, it was a very humbling experience of being around so much great talent. So as the time progressed at Indy, I was more like not mad that I wasn't playing. I just started like following the steps of the guys who were where I wanted to be at. And I talk to some of those guys to this day. So I just started working harder, started focusing on things I never really worked on, like route running, getting out my breaks, getting faster, getting stronger. So it was a very humbling experience, and I'm just blessed that I got to go through it, and I'd probably do it again if I had the chance.
And then you come into a system here at Madonna that we know wants to air the ball out. What kind of excitement does that put into you as a receiver, knowing if I do things right, the ball's going to find me and I can make plays?
I feel like Coach G and Coach Gould trust me a lot. You know, I work hard. I put my head down. I'm not walking around here big headed like I'm the guy. I never will. I trust my guys. I know if I'm not gonna get the job done, my other guys will get the job done. So I'm just very excited. You know, the coaches put a lot of trust in us. We just got to start playing as one and not playing as 11, and I feel like we'll be pretty successful.
Thank you so much. That wraps it up for the offensive side. We'll kick it over to the defense with Corey Watkins. Sean Massa now at defensive back, Corey Watkins. Corey, first let's talk about you coming to Madonna, transfer. What motivated you to join this team, and what really excites you?
The main thing that excited me to come here was to set a foundation, and that was like something I was looking for, is to go to like a new school, was to set a foundation for myself. So when I'm done playing, you know, I can always come back here. So yeah, that was most definitely.
And then you come to Madonna from Bluefield State in West Virginia. What's been the biggest adjustment moving here into Coach Straz's system versus what you guys ran over there?
Well, at Bluefield State, we ran a 3-4, so I was like one of the linebackers. But now, like, I'm moving back to my normal position, which is strong safety. So I feel like the adjustment been way better, and with how Coach Straz runs his defense, he lets his guys play, which is very good.
And talk about last year. You had 7 TFLs over at Bluefield State. Kind of, what do you feel sets you apart on the defensive side of the ball as a player?
Really, first and foremost, just knowing the play before it even happens. Like, you know, just being in your playbook, just watching film before, you know, days before the game and everything. You just play faster when you know what's coming.
Thank you so much. We'll keep it on the defensive side of the ball. Wrap things up with Mitch Wynn. We wrap things up with Mitch Wynn. Mitch, first, there's a lot to unpack here. Let's start with the injury. How was that recovery process for you, and what's the excitement level now that you're going to get back on the field?
The recovery process, it was pretty up. I had a lot of up and downs, very rocky. First year, after it happened, doctor said no surgery, so I just did rehab, physical therapy, stuff like that. And then going into the 2023 season, which would have been my last year, I couldn't get into a lunge, so I decided to medically redshirt. I had surgery that October, and then following that October, I kind of sped through the recovery process too fast, and I retore it. That following April, had a second surgery, and then I took my time with it. So I took my time with it, and then kind of just started working back towards getting back to where I was. And then how I'm feeling going into this season is over that recovery process, I've kind of built that chip on my shoulder. It's gotten bigger and bigger ever since I've gotten closer to the season. So I know I'm ready because the work I've put in for myself. And what was that last question again? I'm sorry.
Just the excitement level in your mind that gets you ready for this year, knowing you can get back on the field.
Oh, I mean, I'm super excited. I've been waiting to get back on this field, especially and back on this team for some time now, ever since that injury did first happen. So.
Now let's talk about last year. You said you took your time. Well, you did. You were the safeties coach for the year. Kind of, how does that change your perspective to view the game, going from player to coach, but now you're going back to player?
So going from player to coach, back to player, I mean, being the player on the field, you see it a lot different, especially at the safety level. And then taking a step back, seeing it from the sidelines and reviewing a bunch of film and breaking down the practice film, game film, and stuff like that, you really dig into the X's and O's of the game. And going back to the player, you see it back onto the field. So you can see it on both sides of the ball, and from that, you really learn a lot from just taking a step back and learning it from the playbook aspect of it.
And lastly, one more thing. What makes this group different? What excites you? What should excite everyone about this Madonna team in 2025?
So what makes this group different is you can feel it in the culture. There's a culture shift with Coach Kaminsky and the new staff coming in. You could kind of see it in everybody's eyes that, you know, there is a sense of belief here this year. Not that there wasn't belief in the previous years, but the culture change and the transition from last year, from every year, honestly, but this year especially, there is that belief, that sense of belief that there is like that opportunity to, like that every weekend, every Saturday, there is a winnable game.
Thank you so much, Mitch. That wraps up our preseason interview for Madonna football in the year 2025. The sand in the hourglass is trickling down. Up next is year 2 of Brett Kaminsky's Crusaders.